Marty. Thanks for having me. Terrific. Well, everybody get up and stretch on that obesity thing. So here we, I'll lead you in jumping jacks if you like. Just kind of get going, get a little fired up. Okay, I guess they can't hear me back there. So yeah, I'm Tim Draper with Draper Associates, and it's great to be amongst family offices because I come from a long line of venture capitalists, but it's only 3 generations, and I understand some family offices go back 10, 20, 50. So I have a new goal in life, and that is to create a business. And actually, it started as soon as I spun off from the firm I created, DFJ, and I started to go solo. It was to create a venture fund or family office venture fund that would last for 100 generations. So that's kind of where I'm headed. And so what I've been doing for the last 10 years is building that platform. And now I've started to accept investors to come along with me. And so, and we like family offices because they end up being great for due diligence on specific areas. They end up being terrific for, they're also fun to cheer with when things are great and cry with when things are bad. So that's been great. One piece, so I've actually seen quite a few different cycles, and I think that this mimics sort of a little bit 73, 74, and mimics a little bit 2000 or 2000 to 2002. And what that means is to a venture capitalist is that what happened to us in the 2000 to 2002 period, and actually even beyond that, because regulators came in and they over-regulated and it made it even worse for us, was that venture capitalists tended to try to shore up their companies, their existing portfolio, because they're trying to make it look good for LPs. And they ended up just wasting a ton of money on that. And I'll tell you why. We did an analysis, and it turns out that there, of the 30 largest companies by market cap in the world, only one, Aramco, was not venture financed. All of the other ones were venture financed, and they were all started, not necessarily funded, but started somewhere between 2 and 4 years after a bear market took place. So after 73, 74, you got Apple and Microsoft. After 82, 83 recession, you got a ton of things. You've got Cisco, Google, and after the .com crash, you got all these internet companies that kind of thrived post the internet crash, which is kind of interesting. And then after the 2008 crash, you had Bitcoin. And so people basically see a problem and they solve it. And that's where the great entrepreneurs are doing, what the great entrepreneurs are doing. That's why I love what I do. It's because you see these extraordinary entrepreneurs that come in. I get to see so many of them because my profile is so high, and I've experimented with a lot of different things, and all to generate deal flow. And I get to meet these extraordinary people who are telling me what the world's going to be like in 5 to 10 years. And once I have that world in my head, then I can sort of put together a way of thinking as I pursue my investments going forward. And that has been really very helpful. And it's so exciting that we're helping these people get going from the very beginning. And they take it and they do extraordinary things with it. And sort of we win. I mean, the way I look at it is we win half the time, we lose half the time, but when we win really, really big. And then there were weird times like this recent bull market where we didn't lose. We were thinking, oh my God, anything we fund seems to get higher and higher valuations, and everybody wants to fund it. And we knew that was eventually coming to an end. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to open this up for questions because I think a Q&A here would be very interesting. I'm going to open it up for questions very soon. So the timing's very good. The opportunity is vast, but you have to find one of those top 30. But the other beauty is that the top 30 keeps getting bigger as our world becomes freer and more open, and those companies become worth that much more. So what was a really great company 20 years ago was maybe $100 million company, and then it was sort of $1 billion company, and then we backed Tesla from the seed, and they became worth $1 trillion. And I believe that this next generation will somehow find us several companies that are in the $10 trillion range. Now, we might have to be looking at it in Bitcoin and not in dollars, but it will be that kind of value that will be in our world. And I think that is extraordinarily exciting, because when you get some of these growth venture investors hit it just right over the last 10 years, I guess. And the reason they did was that we'd seed these companies and then we get a big markup and everything was great. And then they would take it, and the world didn't realize that if it got to be a certain size in the US, the rest of the world wasn't just sort of double that anymore. It was 5 times that or 10 times that. And all of these businesses, when they get to be a certain size, can grow internationally. The markets are so much bigger and broader than they used to be. And so that's been very exciting to watch. Now, the late stage guys got a little bit greedy, and they did, crazy things like putting money into FTX, which I turned down twice, by the way. It was off. There were so many things wrong with it. First, we loved the decentralization of everything, and they were going to be centralized. We also thought that it would be a commodity because anybody can do this. Anybody can be a trader. And then we didn't like the guy. So that was 0 for 3, and it wasn't going any farther than that. But we have had really some great fun success, because what I do, people say, well, what do you look for? Where are you gonna put this money? And I say, well, look, I look for trends. I see all this deal flow. I look for trends. And then I say, there is something happening over here. And let's go find out all the companies in that area, and let's figure out which one's going to win. And then we'll fund that one. And that actually has helped us sort of think about what matters. It's pretty simple. Our business is pretty simple. You look and you say, what's a really big industry? Is there a technology that's coming to take a shot at that industry? And then are these people sort of meant to be in this industry? Are they meant to be completely transforming this industry? And so I've got to see this several different ways. By being a guy, I guess I argue that I paddle really, really hard before there's a wave. And maybe there's no wave and maybe there is, but I paddle really hard before there's a wave. And I caught the internet just right, and the internet transformed some big industries. The movie industry, entertainment, media, hotels, taxis, bunch of industries got completely transformed by the internet. I was the first Silicon Valley venture capitalist to go into China. Of course, I was the first Silicon Valley venture capitalist to get out of China. We kind of get this early win. I sensed actually just 2 years into President Xi's when he took over, and even before he said he was going to be emperor for life, I had an early window where there was an entrepreneur who said, oh, ever since this guy came into office, we've been getting fines. And then they said, and for weird reasons, and the police keep coming by. And I was thinking, this doesn't sound like the free China I was really excited about. And then he said, and then somebody just came to us and said, the fines will go away if you sell us your company for 1/5 of the value. And so I was pretty sure that this was not going to be a free market, and freedom really matters. Turns out it's all about trust and freedom. You look at all these countries in the world, if they trust their people and set them free, great things happen. And if they are weak leaders, they try to control everybody and bad things happen. So China's getting bad things now. North Korea has had bad things happening for 70 years, and South Korea has had a free market for 70 years. The average South Korean makes 460 times what the average North Korean makes, and the average South Korean now, 4 generations later, is 4 inches taller than the average North Korean. So freedom, baby, anywhere you go. You want freedom and trust. You want your leaders to trust their people, and that actually makes a huge difference. We even set up an index that would index, in effect, trust and freedom in the various countries of the world. And you'll be pleased to know America is still #1 in our index, but Singapore and Switzerland are very close. And we look for rates of change, and there are some countries that are going through great rates of change. El Salvador, there are some countries that are starting from a very low base, but going through great rates of change for freedom and trust. And you can check that out. It's at draperhero.org. You can go look at the index and you can see different things happening there. And then I think I'm going to open it up for questions now. Yeah.
To go on with China, don't you see, given your background with tech in Silicon Valley, what the opportunity is post-communist China? And shouldn't that party be failing pretty darn soon?
Yeah, I mean, let's cross our fingers. There was a protest yesterday. Yay! I was thinking, why didn't they protest just before this guy appointed himself God? But anyway, they're protesting now because they're stuck in place and people's houses burned down and they couldn't get out of them. And they weren't allowed out. So the police were keeping them in a burning house. And that brought on a lot of protests. And so this guy, he's just bad news. Weak leaders feel like they have to control everybody and tell them all what to do. Strong leaders set people free and let them go figure it out for themselves. And he's a weak leader. You know, he's just weak. And if you can't get rid of him, which it seems like they can't, because any threat to him, those people disappear. So most of the Chinese entrepreneurs, the great Chinese entrepreneurs that I've noticed, have moved to Singapore. And I just went to Taiwan, and they're trying to open up more in Taiwan, so some of those entrepreneurs can go there. But Taiwan, of course, is, you know, what's going to happen to us? But I explained to the people in Taiwan that the highest per capita unicorn creators are Israel, and they're under threat all the time. And so I said, hey, you guys in Taiwan, you're under threat all the time. You guys can do it too.
Yeah, I have one question, and it didn't come with the intention of talking about Bitcoin or crypto, but you did reference Bitcoin twice, and I'm curious why you referenced Bitcoin and not crypto in general.
Oh, I have a lot more Bitcoin than I do any of the other crypto, and I'm kind of glad about that because I think Bitcoin's like Microsoft during the internet, or during software. So Microsoft, they built all this software out, and it was a platform. And then they said, everybody go build applications on Microsoft. And so everybody built all these applications, and there was a lot of junky applications, but then there were a few that were really gaining traction. WordPerfect and Word, Lotus 1, 2, 3, and spreadsheets. There were a few. And so Microsoft said, you know, I think we're just gonna grab those. And that's basically what Bitcoin's done. They go, oh, okay, so it's NFTs, DeFi, smart contracts. And then the Bitcoin guys are going, okay, we're gonna go after those three. The great thing about this, one of the three areas I think that could be the $10 trillion business is in crypto and probably in Bitcoin, because it has the potential to change the biggest industries in the world. Okay, the ones that the internet changed are pretty big, but the ones that Bitcoin potentially can change, already banking is being changed. Finance, all of finance. I envision a time when I can raise my fund all in Bitcoin, invest it all in Bitcoin, have all the entrepreneurs pay their employees and suppliers all in Bitcoin, have the whole thing done in one big smart contract on the blockchain, and I would require no accounting, no auditing. The taxes would be automatic, which is something our government should understand. God, this is a huge opportunity for the government to just auto tax. All they have to do is just like build on the blockchain. But that's coming, and that's going to change all of finance. That's going to change everything. And you know, how people get paid, the whole waterfall, all of that can be written into a smart contract. And you know what's really interesting is that's ready for disruption, because I've noticed my people in my finance department are pulling their hair out, because they're saying, you know, the accountants and the bookkeepers and the whatever, because of the number of laws that our government has laid on them for every investment we make. And if it's outside the US, oh, it's unbelievable how much paperwork every small investment takes on and has to deal with. So if you put that all on the blockchain, it happens automatically. You don't have to have, those people can be better put to use in other ways. So I'm very excited about it. I think, then the other things that can change is the real estate industry. All title can be done on the blockchain. We have a company called Proppy that does that. And once all title is on the blockchain, you don't need title insurance. And actually, There are properties people own in Africa that they don't own because somebody comes in and just says, no, I live here now. And that happens in Southeast Asia and other places. Well, if the blockchain kept perfect records.
I think Peter throw out a question over there.
Can you discuss, first of all, thank you very much, really enjoying the conversation. Can you discuss, you do so much deal, you see so much deal flow, a lot of what's come out of FTX and just other failed investments, whether it be Elizabeth Holmes, Theranos or something.
Oh, yeah.
It's just doing basic due diligence, but it's so difficult to do due diligence, especially for private companies. And quite frankly, especially when the founders are lying. So this whole issue, I think, coming out of FTX, they're revisiting. I'm an attorney, so the whole issue of due diligence and what we can do, getting verified financial statements much earlier than later and things like that. It seems like some of the investments you made, even with Tesla at the seed stage, you had to do, get essentially a certain amount by gut and feel, where Sam didn't give you that good feeling, but maybe Elon did. So due diligence overall.
Yeah, so diligence for two girls and a dog or two guys and a cat, it's, you check out, what do you check out? Their history, their family, their, their friends, their whatever. You don't have financials to look over. You don't, now the late stage investors, that's all about financial diligence. And, for those poor guys who got taken by FTX, I mean, yeah, they should have done more work. But, and with Elizabeth Holmes, I was a seed investor. That was just her, nobody else, when I backed her. And she said, I'm going to change healthcare as we know it. And this is how I'm going to do it. The first thing we're going to do is this, small micro fluidic chamber for blood. And then she gave me another idea, which I guess, I don't know whether she'd be able to run from jail, but it was a really good idea. And I don't want to spread it anyway. She's extraordinary, but I think she got scared from the lawyers. You realize what I talked to her when she had $300 million in the bank, and she was under a little bit of problem. She had some, that guy had written some articles about her.
Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, he just kept coming. But instead of coming back and talking to the guy and saying, hey, she hid and she was afraid. And she surrounded herself with lawyers. And I said, well, how much are you spending? I said, well, you got $300 million. How much you spend, where's it all going on? $300 million. My God, you can do a whole bunch with that, don't you? She said, well, we got this and that. And then she said, oh yeah, and then $15 million a month for lawyers. And I said, whoa. Yeah, that was ugly. So she made some, I think, some bad business moves. But she's a brilliant scientist. And I think they, the judge made an example of her. And probably FTX didn't help her sentence.
I think we have a question over here.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, Scott again from the V-City Scare Company. So I
it looks good, and I'm thinking, keep moving.
That can help. It's one thing that can help. And focusing on being a good leader, I don't want to control your answer and understanding the inherent risk of asking this question. If it's a no, so I'm not trying to control your answer, but is Gila something that we should talk about as a potential investment after?
Is what?
Is my company Gila Therapeutics a potential investment for you that we could discuss after?
Yeah, I liked it because, I'll tell you the few things I look for. Okay, market size is definitely big enough. I love those charts. Diabetes for stroke, diabetes for cancer. That's a good presentation. Yeah, very nice. And then I'd have to figure out if you were meant to be, which I think you probably are. And then we've got FDA approval, which is a total drag, and I try to avoid it at all costs. So most of my medical investing has been digital. I've been looking for things that digitize medicine, whether therapeutic or or diagnostics. Because with diagnostics, I mean, you're going to be able to find out more than any doctor could ever find out about you just through the data, your blood test results and your Fitbit and your where you sat on the airplane, who you met, all that stuff is all going to be a part of your data. But look, if your thing works, it's a pretty big deal. Now with the battery, I'd be a little circumspect. We backed some battery companies way back when, and they're OEM and they end up being squeezed by the Apples and Samsung and whoever, but maybe he's figured out a way to push back. But once Apple's your customer, it's like you are totally at their mercy.
Thanks, Tim. Rob Cody, thanks for making time for IvyFON, especially the differentiation between someone like Elon early. Did you expect him after post money to be as involved? Because I think one of the issues coming up here is key man risk to all these companies, but then also just bandwidth management, and then now Twitter is going to be taking a lot of time. What are your thoughts there?
You know how you say if you want something done, give it to a busy person. I think that's what's going on. He's a busy person, but he's made such an impact on the world already that he can keep doing great things. Now, the one thing that he was able to do, he wasn't the founder of Tesla. We backed the early founder. We tried to back him, Elon, at PayPal, before PayPal, what it was called, X.com. No, the other one. Anyway, they merged and it was because we did see something in him. He was quite extraordinary and very bright. He joined Tesla, brought money, got excited about it, and his feeling is, hey, I want to improve the world. So he's going to solve climate change, and then he's going to get us off the planet if that doesn't work. And then he realizes that everybody needs to speak, and we need a debate. And so he took over Twitter so that he gets the free speech. Is that a dilutive thing? Yeah. If I were going to, like I didn't back the Boring Company and I didn't back Twitter coming up, but I do have great respect for him. He's really done extraordinary things for the world. Thank you, Elon, good job. But when I back an entrepreneur, I expect that to be everything for them. 150% of their life, just totally dedicated to it.
Tim, one last question over here.
Yeah, hey Tim, it's Joe. I just wanted to not let you go before you could share your other two $10 trillion markets with us.
Oh, so I'm thinking there are 3 $10 trillion markets coming. Actually, there are 4. So when people ask, well, where are you going to put this money? And I say, well, if I had to choose today, because of course entrepreneurs change your mind all the time, because they come in and they say, okay, I've got time travel, or I can teleport, or I can do that. What I usually say to investors is, okay, part of it's going to be the decentralization of everything. So some companies going to be able to decentralize everything. So that's Bitcoin, smart contracts, blockchain, all the NFTs. That's going to be a big, huge $10 trillion business. Second one is digitization of healthcare. Somebody is going to be able to properly digitize both diagnostics and therapeutics. That may be 2 $10 trillion businesses. The third falls into one of 2 categories, which is space and transportation. You got to give Elon a lot of credit. He broke the logjam in creativity for space and transportation. I mean, we backed a company that can get me from San Francisco to Tokyo in 1 hour. Basically, you jump into a rocket and you go up out of the atmosphere and you drop back down, and it's pretty cool. But space, all of space, we have another space company that's going to be like the traffic cop for space, because all these satellites that are getting launched up are going to be running into each other. And so that's going to be a thing. So I think space and transportation, there will be something there. Maybe it's the flying cars. We've got a couple bets on jetpacks and whatever else. And then there's this other category, and I call it other. So it's, when people say, well, where are you gonna invest the money? I say a third decentralization, a third space and transportation, a third digitized medicine, and then a third other.
Fantastic, Tim. Great job. Thanks so much.